It's a trap.
What if everything you've been told about death is a lie? Imagine a hidden text, ancient, sacred, and fearless, that doesn't just speculate about what happens when we die. It maps it, step by step. A cosmic guidebook for what comes after your final breath. But there is a twist. Miss a single moment in this journey, and you risk being trapped forever. Today, we're diving into the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a spiritual manual written over 1,000 years ago. Not just a relic of mysticism, but a guide meant to carry us through death and, if understood, transform how we live. This isn't just philosophy. It's a system used by monks, mystics, and even studied by scientists for navigating the space between life, death, and everything in between. But beware, once you hear these truths, there's no unknowing them.
Despite all our technology, all our research, the biggest mystery of human existence still haunts us. What happens after we die? According to this ancient text, consciousness doesn't end when your heart stops. It continues traveling through strange, vivid realms, some liberating, some terrifying. And through it all, one thing becomes clear. Death is not the end. It's a transition. What's more, this book's descriptions eerily align with what many modern people report after near-death experiences, visions of radiant light, spiritual beings, and an overwhelming sense of peace. Coincidence? Or are we glimpsing a truth far older than science? This isn't just a guide for the dying. It's a wake-up call for the living. Because once you understand the teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you realize something profound. This book doesn't just explain death. It challenges you to live with purpose, clarity, and compassion. And that fear you might feel right now? That all creeping in? That's exactly the reaction it was meant to evoke. So keep your mind open as we descend further. To truly grasp this ancient wisdom, we must meet the visionary behind it, the master who brought these teachings into the world. But before we go there, consider this. What if the Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't just meant for the final moments of life? What if it's a roadmap for navigating every major turning point we face? At the heart of this powerful text is a concept called the Bardo. In Tibetan Buddhism, a Bardo is more than just the gap between death and rebirth. It's any state of transition, those liminal moments where everything familiar falls away and something new is about to emerge. Think about it. How many times in your life have you stood between who you were and who you might become? Those moments of uncertainty, of waiting, of change, they're all Bardos. Each one offers a hidden doorway, a chance for transformation. And the Tibetan Book of the Dead maps out not just one Bardo, but three, each one representing a key phase of consciousness. Each one offering a chance for liberation or for looping back into the cycle again. Ready to dive in? The first Bardo begins at the moment of death. But don't imagine darkness or silence. Instead, picture an explosion of radiant consciousness, a flash of overwhelming clarity. In that instant, the veil lifts. The deepest truths of your existence are revealed in blinding brilliance. Then comes the second Bardo, the Bardo of visions. Now you are surrounded by dazzling images, some divine, others terrifying. But here's the twist. None of them are real in the way you think. These aren't gods or demons from outside. They are you, your mind, your fears, your desires, your regrets. Everything you've ever buried or ignored returns to you in symbolic form. Deities of light and terror swirl in a dance testing, revealing, reflecting. And finally, the third Bardo appears, the threshold of rebirth. Here, stripped of all physical form, your consciousness hovers on the edge of new life. What you've carried, Your thoughts, attachments, karma begins to shape the form of what comes next. It's a moment of creation. And here's the radical truth the Tibetan Book of the Dead offers. You don't have to wait for death to experience these states. Every single day, you touch them. That strange feeling when you're caught between dream and wakefulness, that's the Bardo of death. When you lose yourself in creativity and time dissolves, that's the Bardo of visions. Every life-altering decision, every crossroad you face, those are your personal Bardos of rebirth. And in each of them lies a hidden opportunity, not just for survival, but for awakening. Now, as we cross the boundary into the first great transition, death itself, we stand at the edge of the most mysterious threshold of all. Imagine you're standing on the brink of everything you've ever known. Behind you, your entire life dissolves, memories, identity, the world itself melting into silence. In front of you, a blinding light radiates in every direction. Not warmth, not cold, just pure awareness, timeless, infinite. And in each of them lies a hidden opportunity, not just for survival, but for awakening. Now, as we cross the boundary into the first great transition, death itself, we stand at the edge of the most mysterious threshold of all. In that first flash beyond the body, you encounter what's called the clear light, a dazzling brilliance that reveals the deepest truth, that you are this light. It is your essence, your mind in its most unfiltered, awakened state. This isn't a hallucination. It's not a comforting illusion. It's the most real thing you'll ever experience. But here's the challenge. That moment is fleeting. Like a dream slipping through your fingers, the clear light fades quickly unless you're prepared. Unless you've trained your mind and life to see it for what it is. And most are not. Untrained minds recoil in fear, mistaking this radiant essence as something other, something unknown. And that fear pulls them back deeper into the Bardos, away from enlightenment, toward rebirth. This, Tibetan masters teach, is the ultimate test, the last doorway, the final chance to wake up. But it's not just for the dead. The clear light can be glimpsed even in life, during deep meditation, near-death experiences, or rare moments of pure clarity. Think of it like spiritual training. Every time you quiet your mind, practice awareness, or experience a flash of insight, you're rehearsing for that final moment. You're learning to stay awake when it matters most. You've passed beyond the clear light, but you are not gone. You've simply gone deeper. Now you find yourself standing in a vast, dreamlike space. A divine theater of radiant beings and terrifying monsters. Some call them gods. Others, demons. But the Tibetan Book of the Dead reveals a shocking truth. They are you. Every luminous deity, every horrifying figure, these are not outside forces. They are projections of your own mind. Mirrors of your fears, your desires, your attachments. They're everything you never dealt with, now made visible. Welcome to the Bardo of Visions, the second stage of the after-death journey. Here, your consciousness is confronted by the full spectrum of your inner world. The calm and peaceful spirits appear first beings of light, compassion, and divine wisdom. They reflect your highest self, the enlightened qualities you've nurtured through kindness, clarity, and understanding. If you can recognize them, not as foreign gods, but as your own true nature, you are liberated instantly. But for most, it's overwhelming. The awe becomes fear. And in that fear, the visions change. The gentle deities transform. Their faces grow fierce. Their bodies twist with flames and wrath. These terrifying spirits are not here to punish you. They are here to reveal you. They embody your rage, your jealousy, your buried guilt, all the energies you refuse to face in life. And now, there's nowhere to hide. But even here, Liberation is possible. The question is simple, yet immense. Can you see these terrifying forces for what they are? Can you understand that the monster in front of you is the part of yourself you refuse to love? This isn't a test, it's a mirror. Carl Jung saw the same thing, calling these figures archetypes of the unconscious. He believed that by facing them, we unlock not only spiritual truths, but the very structure of the human mind. The wrathful and the peaceful deities are not enemies. They are opportunities. Each one asks, will you confront your truth or retreat in fear? Because if you flee, if you cannot see them for what they are, the path only gets darker. The projections grow stronger, and the journey pulls you further away from awakening. This stage, the Bardo of Visions, is a confrontation with the rawest parts of your soul. And if you survive it with awareness, you'll emerge changed, transformed. But fail to recognize your own mind in these reflections, and you will descend into the next Bardo. Now imagine drifting through a realm with no form, no time, no direction. The life you knew is gone, but something within you still moves, pulled forward by unseen forces. You've entered the Bardo of Rebirth, the third and final stage in the journey beyond death. Here, your consciousness, stripped of its physical shell, becomes a magnet. Every unresolved emotion, every karmic imprint, every hidden longing now pulls you toward a new reality, a new life. There is no guide here, only you and the momentum of everything you've ever been. It's not chaos, it's creation. Everything that happens next is shaped by the subtle energies you carry. Your kindness, your fear, your regrets, your wisdom. They all swirl around you in powerful visions, faces, places, entire worlds. And each one is a potential doorway into your next incarnation. But this isn't a choice in the way you choose clothes off a rack. These doorways don't open because you want them to. They open because you match them. The Tibetan Book of the Dead says this process isn't ruled by gods or judgment. It's ruled by resonance. You are drawn to the life that mirrors your current state of being. If you've cultivated mindfulness, love, and awareness, you may be pulled toward a life of peace or spiritual growth. But if you're bound by fear, greed, or pain, your next life may echo those unresolved wounds. The stakes? They couldn't be higher. Every thought you cling to in this Bardo shapes what comes next. Every emotion has gravity. And unless you can recognize these visions as mere reflections, projections of your mind, you will be swept away by them. This is why Tibetan Buddhism insists, prepare now, not at death, now, because you are already crafting your next life. Every choice, every action, every moment of self-awareness or self-deception, these are the blueprints for your return. But even here, in the whirlwind of rebirth, there is a chance, a glimmer of control. If you can find stillness, if you can detach from the storm around you, you might not fall back into the cycle. You might rise beyond it. This is not a punishment. This is the law of the universe, a mirror held up to your soul. The third Bardo is not a threat, it's a teacher. And the lesson is simple. You are the creator of your next reality. So, what will you create? The place where rebirth is no longer a theory, it becomes your destiny. Imagine preparing for your own death, not as an act of fear, but as the most important journey of your life. In Tibetan Buddhism, this isn't fantasy, it's daily practice. Every breath is training. Every moment of mindfulness is rehearsal. Because when death arrives, it's not a surprise, it's a sacred transition. And those who are prepared walk through it with calm, clarity, and strength. So how do you prepare? One of the most powerful practices is called consciousness transference. It's the art of aiming your mind like an arrow at the moment of death, launching your awareness directly toward enlightenment as you let go of the body. Not clinging, not panicking, but choosing where your mind will go next. It's not magic, it's mastery. And it starts with something simple, the awareness of impermanence. In Tibetan tradition, practitioners begin each day reminding themselves, this life is fleeting. Every moment is a gift. When you live with that truth in your bones, everything sharpens. Your decisions carry more weight. Your relationships deepen. You waste less. You love more. Another profound practice is Tonglen, the giving and receiving of energy. You breathe in the pain of others. And with your exhale, you send out love, healing, and peace. It sounds simple, but it dissolves the ego. It transforms the heart. And it prepares your soul to meet the afterlife, not with fear, but with compassion. Then there are the mantras, sacred sounds repeated for centuries. These aren't chants to gods, they're vibrations, tuning forks for the soul, each one designed to align your consciousness with higher awareness. When repeated daily, they become spiritual armor helping you face both life and death with fearlessness. Together, these practices form a kind of spiritual technology, a way of reshaping how you live from the inside out. You stop fearing death not because you deny it, but because you've befriended it. You've trained for it. You've understood that death is not the enemy. It's the mirror. And how you meet it depends entirely on how you've lived. So ask yourself this. What are you practicing for? Every single day. Now imagine this. You're on your deathbed. Your breath slows. The room is quiet. But instead of fear and confusion, there's a voice beside you steady, sacred. It belongs to a lama, a spiritual guide who has trained for decades. And as your body lets go, he begins to read not prayers, but precise instructions. This is the Tibetan Book of the Dead in action, also called the Bardo Thödol. It is read aloud at the bedside of the dying, not as a ritual, but as a map, a cosmic compass for the soul. The Lama's words describe what comes next: visions of light, divine beings, terrifying illusions. He reminds the soul, these are not real, they are your mind. Do not fear them. This isn't comfort, it's orientation. It's spiritual navigation. Compare that to modern hospitals, death hidden behind curtains, managed clinically, spoken of in whispers. But in Tibetan culture, death is met head-on. It is prepared for with devotion, guided with compassion. The Book of the Dead doesn't fear the afterlife, it names it. It shows you its faces and forms and gives you the tools to move through it consciously. And the Lama at the bedside? He's more than a priest. He's a navigator, a companion, a reminder of the wisdom you cultivated in life. He whispers, that light, it is you, merge with it, become it. That fearsome deity, it is your anger. Face it and be free. Every step, every trial is explained. Not with superstition, but with clarity. This is not myth. It is the core of Tibetan end-of-life care. Death is not hidden, not denied. It is treated as the most powerful transition of all. And through the Book of the Dead, the dying aren't left alone. They are guided through chaos, through beauty, through fear toward one final choice: rebirth or liberation. And what if we brought even a fraction of this approach into our own lives? What if, instead of fearing death, we trained for it? What if we guided one another, like the Tibetans do, with love, presence, and preparation? Maybe then death wouldn't feel like a sudden, terrifying end, but a homecoming. So how do we bring this ancient wisdom down from the mountains into the rhythm of our modern lives? We begin where the Tibetan masters began, with impermanence. Start your day with this awareness. This moment is a gift. It will never come again. This simple reminder shifts everything. It softens resentment. It sharpens focus. It reminds you to love deeper, to speak more truthfully, to live with intention. Now try this. Every morning, take a few moments of stillness. Breathe in the uncertainty of life. And with every exhale, let go. Let go of your fear, your pride, your illusion of control. That's your first practice. Then try the second Tonglen, the exchange of energy. Breathe in the suffering of others. Feel it. Hold it. And then breathe out compassion directed like a healing beam to every soul in pain. It sounds mystical, but it's deeply practical. It opens your heart. It dissolves isolation. And it prepares you to meet fear with love, not only in life, but in the Bardos. Then there are the mantras. Sacred syllables whispered for centuries like Om, Mani, Padme, These aren't magic spells. They are vibrations that tune the mind. Every time you notice your own thoughts as thoughts, your emotions as waves, you're glimpsing the same clear light described in the moment of death. You're training for awakening, not later, now, because the goal isn't to escape death. It's to meet it with your eyes wide open. By now, you've seen that the Tibetan Book of the Dead is not just about what happens when we die. It's about what we do while we're alive. It's not a book of endings. It's a manual for transformation. What if we stopped treating death like a shadow and started seeing it as a mirror? Because here's the ultimate truth Tibetan wisdom offers. Death is the greatest teacher in the art of living. When you realize that every breath is borrowed, you love harder. You waste less. You see more clearly what matters and what never did. Imagine living each day with the same intensity you bring to your last. Imagine greeting every fear, every challenge, every change as a sacred Bardo, an invitation to wake up. This is the radical gift of the Bardo Thödol, not to escape death, but to use it, to strip away what's false, to reveal what's real. So let me ask you, if this was your last day on earth, how would you live it? How would you speak to the people you love? What choices would you make? What would you stop waiting for? And if you could shape the next chapter of your soul, right now with the decisions you make today, what would you choose? Let that question live in your heart, because life isn't waiting. The Bardos aren't somewhere far away. They're here, in every transition, every heartbreak, every quiet moment of clarity. You are already moving through them. So, how will you navigate them? And what kind of life or death will that create? Let us know in the comments. What resonated with you the most? What practice will you begin today? Because this isn't just a video, it's a portal. And you've already stepped through.